back to the show, everyone. We're so happy to have you today.
Yes, indeed. It is Tuesday, and I hope everyone's day is going well so far. Hopefully your week is going well so far. Wait,
Yeah,
what
well,
can you say? It's fall. I'm a little bit tired today.
yeah.
몸살기운 going on, and my stomach's been kind of bothering me
Oh, no.
for about a week now. Not really bad, but I have these occasionally. I get these little bouts where, for a few days, I just kind of feel like I have indigestion, or I just kind of feel my
Have you
stomach just
been eating
feels
chicken?
gross. No, not really.
Okay. Have you been eating corn?
No, yeah, I'm not buying into your voodoo witch doctor diet.
Oh, my blood type diet. No, I'm telling you, there is some truth to it. But anyway, so you haven't been feeling well.
Yeah, and I've been tired, and I think part of it is because of the changing of the seasons and whatnot. But also, I've been trying to, because I've just gotten really fat. And so I've been trying to diet a little bit. I'm not fully on a diet yet, but the past week or so I've been trying to watch what I'm eating. And so I feel a little bit lacking in energy, but I'm sure I'm probably, it's probably just mental, because I'm sure I'm eating enough to get by and to function and to have energy, but I'm just used to eating much more.
Well, I think, you know what I think, Brian? I think is that you have been out in the countryside and you are just very, very complacent and very, very happy inside your home and outside in your yard, and you don't go beyond that. You need to move a little bit more. You need to move around and get a little exercise. I think it's long overdue.
That may be true. That may be correct. Okay, I'll think about it. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're not.
Well,
It might be like that new age hocus pocus diet that you're always telling me about.
No, it's not. I think that as you age, you really do need to. The only thing that keeps you feeling good is really just proper diet and exercise, because our body is just going downhill. And so you need all the help that you can get to feel, to have energy and to feel good.
That's true.
Yeah.
I think when you're younger, you can
get away with eating
you
all
can
that stuff.
Eat poorly and not sleep and,
Right.
and all that kind of stuff and still be fine. But the older you get, the harder it is.
It is.
You're probably right.
Okay. I'm always right. Ah, ha, ha, just kidding. All right. Tuesday, speech day.
Yeah. So today we've got a speech by the famous actor Matt Damon, and
Who we all love.
some people might not love him. I like him.
I think he's very likable. I think he's a very likable actor. He just seems to be a really nice family guy, a just good person, smart. He went to Harvard.
He's very socially active.
Yes.
Politically.
Well-rounded person.
This is true, and I think that, but often he plays these kind of very cocky characters, especially when he was younger. He played these sort of very snooty, stuck-up kind of cocky characters. I remember before, so Good Will Hunting.
That was
that was the movie that made him and Ben Affleck big stars. So that was really their claim to fame. But before that, he was in some other movies, and I remember there's one movie, I forgot exactly what the name of the movie is. I'll try to figure this out. And it was starring Brendan Fraser when he was like the big star.
Oh.
And it was the story about this Jewish kid who was at this private school in like the 40s or 50s, and he was treated he was bullied a lot, and being, people were being sort of racist and prejudiced against him because he was Jewish. And one of the guys who was like always harassing his character was Matt Damon.
That is interesting.
So I always remembered him from that movie being like, oh, he's that snooty, racist dude.
First impressions last quite a while.
Even though it's just a character in a movie.
I know. So anyway, we do have a commencement speech for you today, and it's from MIT. So let's take a little listen.
There's a lot of trouble out there, MIT, but there's a lot of beauty, too. I hope you see both. But again, the point is not to become some kind of well-rounded, high-minded voyeur. The point is to try to eliminate your blind spots, the things that keep us from grasping the bigger picture. And look, even though I grew up in this neighborhood, in this incredible multicultural neighborhood that was a little rough at that time, I find myself here before you as an American, white, male movie star. I don't have a clue where my blind spots begin and end. But looking at the world as it is and engaging with it is the first step toward finding our blind spots. And that's when we can really start to understand ourselves better and begin to solve some problems.
I found the movie for you.
Yes.
It's called School Ties.
School Ties. That's right.
Okay.
I think actually Ben Affleck might have been in that movie too.
You think?
Maybe.
Okay. Well,
could be
now
wrong
I'll
about
have to
that.
double check. Okay. Let's get back to the speech. Let's begin. Brian?
Okay, so he starts off by saying, there's a lot of trouble out there, MIT, but there's a lot of beauty too. I hope you see both. But again, the point is not to become some kind of well-rounded, high-minded voyeur.
Okay, so I use this word well-rounded to describe Matt Damon, and this is a word that we actually use quite a bit to describe people.
Yeah, so if somebody is well-rounded, it basically means that they're very balanced. So if you think about the shape, if something is round, think about a circle, which is round, or an object that is round. So if it was heavier or stuck out on one side more than the other, then it wouldn't be balanced. So to be well-rounded just means that you are very even on all sides, in a literal sense. But yeah, it just means that you are very well-balanced. So say, for example, if you're talking about a well-rounded person, so it means that they're pretty smart, they're pretty friendly, they're pretty good at their job, they're pretty good with their family.
Yeah.
So there are some people that you see, and occasionally, even like celebrities or famous people that people admire, and they're really good at something.
Yeah.
And usually to become famous, you have to be really good at something.
Right.
But they're not necessarily well-rounded people or even good people.
Right,
They're just
right.
really good at one particular thing.
That's very true.
So somebody who might be a genius, but actually is a big jerk, or somebody who's a really famous celebrity and they're really good at singing, but they're bad at other stuff.
Yeah.
But then there are certain people who are very well-rounded.
Like Kristen.
Okay. If you say so.
Oh, all right, no. And we hear this a lot. I remember hearing this word a lot in school when you describe certain students as being well-rounded.
Yeah.
So they were good at sports, they played a musical instrument, they were smart, very social.
Yeah, you hear about that a lot when you're applying to schools. They say, well, this school likes a well-rounded student. Instead of just having good grades,
Right.
They want you to have done some volunteer work and played some sports and done other extracurricular activities and have other interests and things like that.
Okay, good. He continues on by saying the point is to try to eliminate your blind spots, the things that keep us from grasping the bigger picture. So we've got lots of expressions here. The first one is a blind spot. So literally, Brian, what is a blind spot?
So a blind spot is an area that you can't see.
Okay.
Usually in your field of vision, and often like when you're driving, for example, there is a blind spot. When you're looking forward or you're sitting and you're driving a car, you can see forward, of course, and usually you can see to most of the side. And then with your rear view mirror and the side mirror, you can see behind your car. But there's an area that's sort of to the side, but back. On
Right.
both sides of the car
Yeah.
that you can't really see unless you actually turn your head and look back there. And those areas are called your blind spot. So say, for example, you're driving down the highway, and a highway in America where motorcycles are allowed to be on the highway, and you look in your rear view mirror, you don't see any cars. You look in your side view mirror, and you don't see any cars or anything. So you change lanes. But then you hear somebody honking, and you look back, and there's a motorcycle there
Right.
because he's in your blind spot. So it's just this area that you can't see. Now, in a figurative sense, it just means certain things that you don't know, certain fields, certain subjects that you don't know or you're not concerned about. Just in more of a general sense, as opposed to your actual field of vision, just means in your life.
Okay, so blind spots in your life. And he's saying, try to get rid of them. The things that keep us from grasping the bigger picture. So let's first talk about the bigger picture, because then we can it'll be easier to just to talk
grasp
about
the bigger
grasp
picture.
Exactly. So what is the bigger picture?
So the bigger picture is kind of like saying the whole story, the whole situation. And there's that expression to see the woods from the tree, or the tree from the woods, or whatever it is. So sometimes when you're so focused on one thing, you don't see the other things that are going around, or oftentimes the more important things that are going on around it. So it's important, if you want to be well-rounded in particular, that you be able to see the bigger picture. So, for example, maybe somebody offers you a job and it pays pretty well, but you have to do something that you don't really like to do, or maybe it's even something bad, but you're just thinking about the money.
Yes.
And you're not necessarily thinking how it's going to affect your future, or how it might look on your resume later on. And so someone might say, well, the money is good, but you need to really look at the bigger picture. Is this going to help you in what you want to do in your career?
So instead of looking at that one detail, or just focusing so narrowly on one thing, you want to really look at the wide, bigger picture, right? And so he's saying, well, the things that keep us from grasping the bigger picture. So to keep one from grasping something, keep one from something.
Yeah, so to grasp in a literal sense means to essentially grab something, to hold something. But in this case, it means to understand something.
Okay.
So if something keeps you from grasping whatever it is, it means that it is stopping you from understanding it. It's holding you back from comprehending something. So he's saying that everyone has these blind spots in their lives. So maybe you know all kinds of stuff about popular culture and music and TV and things like that, but you don't know very much about politics. So that's kind of like your blind spot.
All right.
But he's saying if you want to be well-rounded, if you want to be a person who can see the big picture, you need to get to know things that maybe you're not familiar with, or maybe you're not really interested in.
And so this is what I also tell my students too. It's great to listen to the news all the time to practice your English or to improve your English, but it goes beyond news, right, Brian? I mean, sometimes it's good to watch movies, listen, to expose yourself to as much English as possible in different genres and different themes, topics.
Yeah, that's true, because in particular, when we sort of concentrate on something like the news, think about it. Even in Korea, almost all countries. Do you know many people who in real life talk exactly like a news anchor?
Yeah.
And the answer is probably not.
Not, yeah.
And if you do have a friend who talks like that, it's probably a little bit unusual.
It's awkward.
I recently, somebody on social media, some a friend of mine or something, actually probably a fan of the show, was saying that she had tried to watch the news or even watch sitcoms to learn English, but she said really the best thing for everyday English is to watch a lot of reality shows.
Yeah, it's true.
And that is actually, and I thought about that, I was like, that's right.
That's very true.
So even things like sitcoms, these are written
Scripted.
scripts. So if you really want to get comfortable with the way people talk, reality shows are probably a good way to do it.
Excellent. Okay, so moving on, he says, and look, even though I grew up in this neighborhood, in this incredible multicultural neighborhood, which is Boston, that was a little rough at that time, I find myself here before you as an American white male movie star. I don't have a clue where my blind spots begin and end. So he's being very open and honest here. I don't have a clue. If you don't have a clue?
Yeah, if you don't have a clue, it means that you're ignorant, you don't know. You don't have even the faintest idea of something. So a clue is basically a little part of a whole story. It's a little hint of something. So he's saying that if you don't even have a clue, it means you have no idea at all.
Okay.
Sometimes you can know or have a guess or an educated response, but sometimes you don't know at all.
So it's interesting because Matt is saying, despite the fact that he's this movie star and he's this really famous person, he's done a lot of things, he still doesn't know at all what his blind spots are.
Yeah, so what he's saying, he says, I'm an American, I'm white, I'm male, I'm a movie star. So he's saying that he comes from a perspective where he doesn't especially, in America, but just in general, he comes from a very privileged, exclusive kind of background. So to be white, to be a man, to be American, to be a movie star,
Yeah.
these are all certain things that don't necessarily give you an input into or an idea of how things, might
Really
be
are.
for a young African person who lives in some really poor country. He might have a blind spot about what it's like to be like that, or what it's like to be poor, or whatever.
Okay.
So he doesn't have a clue.
Yeah. So the point today, the theme today is finding our blind spots in life.
To be well-rounded.
Yes. All right. Let's listen to the speech one more time.
There's a lot of trouble out there, MIT, but there's a lot of beauty, too. I hope you see both. But again, the point is not to become some kind of well-rounded, high-minded voyeur. The point is to try to eliminate your blind spots, the things that keep us from grasping the bigger picture. And look, even though I grew up in this neighborhood, in this incredible multicultural neighborhood that was a little rough at that time, I find myself here before you as an American, white, male movie star. I don't have a clue where my blind spots begin and end. But looking at the world as it is and engaging with it is the first step toward finding our blind spots. And that's when we can really start to understand ourselves better and begin to solve some problems.
Okay, since we were talking about that the movie Good Will Hunting with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck and
Robin Williams.
Robin Williams,
Yes.
I'm sorry, Robin Williams. There's this really great scene where he's applying for a job at the NSA, which is like the CIA. It's a spy agency, and they said, the question is, why shouldn't you work for us? And he gives this really great answer. So let's take a listen to that scene from the movie right now.
Okay.
It's a tough one, but I'll take a shot. Say I'm working at the NSA and somebody puts a code on my desk, something no one else can break. Maybe I take a shot at it, maybe I break it. And I'm real happy with myself because I did my job well. But maybe that code was the location of some rebel army in North Africa or the Middle East. And once they have that location, they bomb the village where the rebels are hiding. 1,500 people that I never met, never had no problem with, get killed. Now the politicians are saying, send in the Marines to secure the area because they don't give a...
So that actually is part of the scene. And actually, this monologue that he has, it goes on
It's
for quite a
long.
while, but it's
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen the movie Good Will Hunting, you should. It's really, really good.
Definitely. All right. I think we need to give out the quiz answer from yesterday and give the quiz question today. The answer from yesterday, the animal that we were looking for was sheep. And the expression is sheepish.
Okay.
All right.
So here's kind of a tough question for you.
Okay.
We were talking about the movie Good Will Hunting. The main character of the movie is played by Matt Damon. Now, what is the name of the main character?
Ooh.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. It's a multiple choice question. So number one, the choice is Brian Ree. Okay. Number two, the choice is Will Hunting. Okay, so who is the main character? What's the name of the main character of the movie Good Will Hunting?
Oh,
Is
I know. Brian
No,
Reed.
no, no, no.
Okay.
Don't give it
All
away.
All right.
Number one, is it Brian Reed? Number two, is it Will Hunting? Okay, very difficult question. If you know the answer, go to our homepage and put it up in the quiz answer folder. It's time for us to say goodbye. Have a great day, everyone. We'll be back tomorrow.
We'll see you tomorrow, everyone. Bye-bye.